other men?
Like work with Maverick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, right now, a lot of my family and friends, they've been giving me ideas like, oh, let's do this. I want to help do this. And then a lot of my friends have reached out. Like, let me know whenever you're doing something. I would be more than happy to come. I got invited to do a workshop for young men through Project Yes Youth Build. Actually came from the Block Gives Back.
Okay.
He went with me to do it. So that was awesome.
And take me through the process of coming up with workshops and organizing events and I guess fundraisers, or I don't know everything you guys entail, but what's the brainstorming process like that to get ready for an event?
So that was my first workshop was there, and that was with young men. And the process for that, I was kind of I focused a lot on mental health. It was kind of like half mental health and then half sexual violence regarding men and young boys. And it was more so kind of a discussion. I just wanted it to be something kind of relaxed, laid back, that wouldn't scare them off and that they could take part in. Just a conversation that they maybe didn't hear before and just kind of open their mind to a new topic.
And what was that age group looking like?
I think they were like age 16 to 24. That organization primarily works with, I believe. So they were like older teenagers and young men.
I can only imagine having a workshop talking about, I mean, obviously it was mental health, but the sexual abuse part, how some kids are immature and they're like, was it received well? Was it good like back and forth?
It was. There was a lot. We went way over the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth. And I was nervous too because at that age, I know my guy friends growing up, if someone were to talk to them about that, woman came in there talking about it, I think they wouldn't have taken it serious, I don't think. Right. So I was a little nervous, but then once they were very interested, asking a lot of questions and giving feedback, they were very mature about it and very open to, and I think that's also part of the social media stuff too. I think it's normalizing talking about this kind of stuff.
Oh, for sure, for sure. What makes your job hard?
Not thinking about people when I go home. So
separating life and work.
At night, it's hard if you experience something very difficult during the day to kind of not think about it and focus on your life and your kids and stuff like that. And that's just difficult. They pop into your mind. I'm like, oh no, I hope so-and-so from a few months ago is doing okay. I'm like,
that's a lot of baggage you kind of take on when you're helping certain people in those positions.
Yeah, it's hard, but and then knowing there's sometimes people can't get help because the resources are so limited. So knowing someone wants assistance and if there's like right away not anything available, that's really, really difficult.
Do you ever fear that, or has it even happened where somebody's asking for help and there's a long wait list and they can't get the help and then they just kind of fade away and you don't hear back from them? Happens a lot.
It happens often.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with working with the homeless population. They're hard to keep in touch with. So we'll go under bridges and overpasses and in the woods searching for people because when something does come available, I'm like, oh, we have to go let them know. And then it's so difficult to find them. And you might not run into them again for months. And by then, you kind of have to start the process over.
What's that process like? Like, do you guys get a team together, kind of like, and just go to known areas, or how does that work?
We kind of explore everywhere. So since we work with law enforcement, we'll respond to law enforcement referrals and calls, individuals that the police have encountered. And then we also do our own outreach too. So just kind of going places where we know individuals will usually be. So under the bridges, in woods, just kind of places where they can kind of hide. So we will just literally go walk around Camden for hours and encounter people that way.
Do you guys ever, through those encounters or searches for people, do you ever kind of stumble upon other people who might need help and end up kind of like gaining more, I guess, clients, I guess you can call them?
Yeah, there's I know in cities, especially since there are so many people, there's so many people that could benefit from access to resources. So yeah, there's a lot of times where we'll go out looking specifically for an individual, and we'll encounter someone else along the way that is also like, oh wow, that sounds like something I could benefit from. So there's always people that could use assistance.
How long has Philly Maverick been around?
Almost a year.
Okay, it's fairly new.
Yeah.
What have you ever come across like some of like the worst story where you were just kind of lost for words and didn't know what to do?
Through work or
Yeah.
Philly Maverick or in general?
Just in general.
The hotline, that was really, really difficult. I can't really think of any story specifically off my head because they were all kind of, that was more of kind of like a crisis hotline. So if someone was just really, really experiencing, like their mental health was just suffering really bad at that moment, or they were just experienced assault, a lot of the calls were difficult. There isn't one that specifically stands out. A lot of the ones where nobody believed the person, those were always really difficult because I saw what they were going through and all the emotions and the pain that they were feeling, and for them to tell me like, no one in my family believes me, and that was hard.
And we were talking about baggage, and that's a lot of baggage you kind of take on your shoulders. Have you ever had a moment where you were just like, I don't know if I can continue to do this?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people that work in this field feel that, particularly like after a really rough day. I think a lot of people that work in social services or with this kind of population goes home. It's like, how am I going to do this another day? How can I continue to do this for years? There's so many people that are experiencing pain. It's like, hell, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, sometimes it's very, very difficult, but that's when kind of coping mechanisms and just relaxing comes into play, because then the next morning I'm like, oh, no, I can do this. I was just upset last night. I'm good to go today.
And what do you draw your inspiration from to keep going instead of hearing a traumatic story and you're just like, you go home and it's weighing heavy on your conscience because sometimes you're racing against the clock, or you're like, we need to find this person because if not, we might not be able to help them at all. Yeah. Like, what do you do when you get home and like, I need to get up, go tomorrow and help them again?
I have a son and a daughter.
Okay.
They're young, and I always picture if that was them, I would want people that really, really cared out there doing the work. So a lot of the people I encounter, I'm like, this could be my son or daughter. This is someone's loved one. And also, in general, this is a human being. And I'm passionate about this. I think this is what I was meant to do. So I think that knowing there's a need for it keeps me going. But then also just going home to my kids and just kind of thinking like, if they were in that position, I would want someone that really, really cares and that isn't going to give up on them. So
without naming names, have you ever worked with people who are in the same industry as you and they're just kind of going through the motions without actually having that genuine care for others?
I think where I work, a lot of the people that I work with are amazing. They're very, very passionate. The same as me. I think they can get frustrated at the end of the day by how sometimes it can be very difficult getting people help, and that weighs on their shoulders. But they come back into work the next day and they're like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to take on the day. So personally, I'm lucky. The people I work with, they're very, very amazing. But I do think I have a lot of like social worker friends and acquaintances. And I think people really do get burnout. I think in this field, it is super easy because it's heartbreaking. It's difficult. There's not a lot available to help people. So it starts to weigh on you, definitely.
Yeah, and I always say that old saying, you are what you eat. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we watch the news. Yeah. We're on social media, and a lot of the stuff is drama. Terrible things are happening, and your outlook on life starts to become really, really gloomy. Mm-hmm. So for people who are in social work, people like you, people who you work with and your associates and the people that you know, I can only imagine the willpower to continue to go through life like I need to make a difference and help versus everything is in despair and there's no getting better.
Yeah. That's what makes me happy though, is in this field I realize there's so many people that care. Like Camden growing up always had such a bad rep. And now actually really working in that community and getting to know the community, I'm like there's so many people that care. Everyone is amazing. Like you wouldn't know that about areas that you heard negative things growing up about until you're actually in that community every day walking around. And that's when it's like, oh no, there are a ton of people that care and that are making a difference. And I think there's more people that care than that don't care. Their voices aren't as amplified. I'm
so glad you said that, because you saying that gave me a realization that I felt the same way about my podcast, where I'm going around. It's an uphill battle to get people to kind of flock to it because it's good news.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know, and it doesn't get as much shares. It doesn't get as much attention because people want to see the problems. They want to hear what's going on. And that's why I like to talk about the problems, because without talking about the problems, what is there to solve? And but yeah, the same thing. Philly gets a bad rap for being Philly. Yeah. You know, and but I've seen so many people give and give and give, and it definitely gives me that hope, and that's why I want to share people's stories and doing those things. Yeah. What's something that you wished you knew before you started?
The main thing, I think I was very naive when I was younger, and I just thought, oh, if someone wants help, they're going to get it right away, and there's plenty of help to go around. There is not at all, and that is so, so frustrating. I think that's just the main thing that I never realized before, and I wish I knew. There's really, I guess, social services and social work, all this kind of stuff isn't as valued as much in our society. And I never realized that growing up, but now I realize I don't know. And I guess because you can't make money off of it too.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, money's the root of everything. Yeah.
So I think that's the main thing. There's not a lot available, but I do think that's changing though. I think that's definitely, I think there will be a breakthrough soon, hopefully in the near future, where everyone else realizes like, oh, this stuff is really, really important and it's all connected, and we have to take this stuff seriously if we really want to create positive communities. Yeah.
Is there, did you get any pushback when you decided you wanted to start your own organization?
No.
Complete support?
Yeah,
that's
so
good.
far.
That's good. Yeah. Well, you know, you have some naysayer friends who they call themselves friends, and they're just like, I don't think it's gonna work, man. Yeah. Why are you wasting your time? There's a big stigma with homeless people and people who have bad mental health. It's like there's no fixing them. They just are who they are, and they want to be there.
Yeah, I've heard no one ever has said that to me directly, but when it does come to people experiencing substance abuse or homelessness, like personally, none of my friends or family. I try to surround myself just with really great, caring, kind people. But I hear people say that, like, in some people just out and about, like, oh, they'll get help if they want it. Yeah. I'm like, but nobody wants to actually be in this position.
Exactly. Like, I don't understand the argument behind that.
Yeah. Eventually, maybe they're not ready at this moment for help, but eventually they will be.
But if you have any knowledge of how the brain works, like the reason addiction is a disease is because it literally changes the pathways to your brain, and your body relies on certain substances. Yeah. That's not something people just desire to happen to them. You know what I mean?
They don't want to be living under an overpass and having people just not even treat them like human beings. Yeah. So, and it's scary. I know a lot of people when they do want help, but they're really scared to actually get the help. I've encountered that very often.
And a lot of people are afraid to let other people down. So when they ask for help and they end up relapsing, or they end up, you know, failing in some type of way, they don't continue their treatment or come around. Yeah. they feel like I just wasted this resource and now I can't